Greetings, my champions, and welcome to Live with Chatufa. Zanu PF's Lewis Matutu dragged before the courts over US 150,000 corruption case. Family, you still remember Lewis Matutu being one of those Zanu PF youths who wanted to expose corruption at one point. Him with Godfrey Ngamu. You remember when they did a press conference and they wanted to name drop and talk about the corrupt individuals in Zanu PF and those connected to Zanu PF, which led finally to them being fired from Zanu PF. And then Lewis Matutu ended up, withdrawing his statement, apologizing, and was readmitted into Zanu PF. But Godfrey Ngamu did not do that, and he ended up leaving Zanu PF until today. So this is the very same Lewis Matutu who was reporting corruption during that time. So meaning that maybe his hands were clean during that time, but today the same guy is also corrupt to the core. Mnangagwa is managed, after he brought him back, he has managed to make sure that he soils his hands so that he can't continue talking like he's a saint. So that's what Zanu PF always does. Zanu PF will make sure that when you join them, you must also have some crime of some sort that you commit. You must also be connected to something that is some jail term to it, so that you become like everyone. That becomes your prison. That becomes the catch. That in the event that you want to misbehave, they simply pull out the file of what you did, and then you find yourself, in a prison like Mkupe. Right now, Mkupe is in prison. Somebody who used to be very, very close to Mnangagwa, who used to be a darling of Mnangagwa, who used to speak like the other young people that we are hearing today, speaking on behalf of Mnangagwa. Today, he is in prison and languishing in prison. I don't know whether he can still be talking good about Zanu PF in the manner that he did, where at one point he said that the military will not allow the opposition to take power even if they win elections. He said that on a radio show, and it became quite a lot of problems. It opened up a can of worms really at that particular time, and Zanu PF were not happy with that. But this is the same Mkupe today who is languishing in prison, and that's the very same thing that we continue to tell Zanu PF people, that this is what it is. Now today we are looking at Lewis Matutu being dragged before the courts also on corruption charges, meaning that already the guy is his hands dirty already. Lynn is also commenting here saying he pretended to be exposing corrupt officials some time ago. Can't he itorimbafa as well? Yes. So Daily News reports that Zanu PF Midlands Province Vice Chairperson Lewis Matutu yesterday appeared at the Harare Magistrates Court facing fraud allegations involving US 150,000. So here is the young man. So these guys, they are hypocrites. They are hypocrites. They may want to be talking about fighting corruption and blah, blah, but at the end of the day, you discover that they are, again, the very same corrupt guys. You may realize that during that time, he was being used, by some Zanu PF big wigs. He was being used because of Zanu PF factional fights as young people that were fronted, and yet it was not maybe even of their own doing. And that's usually what happens. Young people are sacrificed on behalf of the big bulldogs who will be hiding behind the scenes. Like we are seeing today, Chimombe and Mpofu are being sacrificed to save some big wigs who are corrupt to the core, who are supposed to be facing the music of their corruption. So this is what is happening. Quite very interesting what we continue to see happening in Zanu PF. Zanu PF remains a party that is corrupt to the core. Zanu PF is responsible 100% of what is happening to our economy. Whatever that they may want to talk about, the issues of lying about the sanctions and the like, especially when they flip-flop on the statements on sanctions. You heard Mnangagwa at one point saying it's a lie that people cry about sanctions. Prism Changwa at one point was saying, if the sanctions are causing you not to run the country, then go. Why are you sticking on if sanctions are, blocking you from doing the right thing to run the country successfully? He said that to Mugabe. And today he's the same guy who comes again and starts to say sanctions and sanctions again. Mnangagwa is reintroducing sanctions after he once said, if you are going to talk about sanctions in our meetings, we will chase you out. Nobody should be talking about sanctions because there is nothing that sanctions are doing. We can beat the sanctions even if they are there. But today he has forgotten, pretending to have forgotten that he once mentioned that the issue of sanctions is definitely not a genuine issue. So this is what it is. We just have a dishonest lot of politicians who are making life very difficult for every individual. And the fight must continue. The fight is on. Until we remove these people, we will never have peace. We will never see our country working or prospering. All these countries, especially countries run by these liberation parties, if you listen to them, you heard when I was talking to Mr. Thinker of Mozambique, and how he was explaining a very same problem Frelimo is having with the people of Mozambique is exactly what we are experiencing in our own country in Zimbabwe. So it's like they share notes on what they do as liberation parties. And I want to believe that ZANU-PF is the mother of all these ones. Although ZANU-PF was younger in terms of coming into power to BDP and even to Frelimo, but you would find that they became even the most prominent dictatorship more than even those that came before them. And that's exactly what we are seeing happening. So we still are looking at whether these people will really end up being persecuted, but it's not going prosecuted rather, but it's not going to be happening because we've seen right now we're talking about Wajga Jena. Imagine with all the corrupt activities of Wajga Jena, Mnangagwa would still want him to become a commissioner of ZAC. What does that mean? That simply means that we are going nowhere. That simply means that Zimbabweans are on our own. If we don't rise up to fight, to put pressure on Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, we will continue to be in this trajectory of suffering, of pain, stagnation, and disappointment all the time. So our fight must continue to be pushed on and on and on until victory is certain. We are fighting to free our country. We are fighting to free Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe shall be free. We are in the season of change. God is in it. We are not alone in this. We are going to come out victorious. Thank you so much, family, for joining me on the show. Till we meet in the upcoming shows. Remain blessed and shalom.